Hello, hello, hello. This is Priscilla with Scylla Travel, helping you live the dream through travel. So, travel is back, and so is cruising. I know I've said that before, but this time it seems like it really is back. So, today's topic is about returning to cruising. Is it okay to cruise right now? We'll find out. I'll give you the tools that you need in order to make the right decision. And I'm back. This is Priscilla with Scylla Travel, helping you live the dream through travel. I help busy women entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals plan incredible vacation experiences that reflect the local culture of the destination that they visit. Uh, it's time to learn how to enjoy the moment, explore distant lands and ancient cities like UNESCO World Heritage Sites, as well as see amazing wildlife in its natural state. Today, what I'm here to talk to you about is the return to cruising. Is it okay to cruise again? Maybe you're not sure. But today, I'm going to help you at least get closer to making the decision. So we know that because of the Omicron variant and the news cycle, it seems like travel opens and then it closes. It opens and it closes. It ebbs and flows, and it sort of corresponds to the seasons, like holiday seasons. Then we have increase in numbers and infections, and then after a while, usually like about a month or two, then we have a dramatic drop in virus cases. um, Nobody knows why, but that's the world that we live in right now. So we live in a pandemic world. Uh, this is Priscilla with Scylla Travel. I'm just making sure that if anybody's making any comments here, I'm very happy that you took time out of your morning, afternoon, or evening to listen to me whenever you tune into this video. Okay. So, if you are in a Facebook group, you want to make a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to display your profile, because it's just a thing that Facebook does, and it seems to only happen in Facebook groups and sometimes in YouTube. So I'm streaming on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So if you want to make a comment, look inside the description, and if you see a link that says grant StreamYard permission, go ahead and do that. So if you make a comment, I can talk to you directly. So now I'm going to get into it. All right. So we know that wave season's here. Wave season is here. Wave season is here. And wave season starts like around January, February time, but because of our numbers, it's sort of like put a damper on it, right? But now that the numbers are going down, it looks like we're going to be okay to cruise again. So, um, I'm going to start out by talking about the cruise industry protocols. And I'm going to do that because the news cycle always, they take something and then they run with it. They don't really give you context. And when I say context, they don't really give you like what's going on when they're making this grand announcement. They just give you this headline and then they leave it up to your imagination to just go run wild and guess on what's happening. So sometimes it seems like the sky's falling. But in the case of cruising, the cruising industry has actually made great progress with regard to industry protocols. Um, with regard to the coronavirus, okay? So we know that when the coronavirus first came, right, it happened in the cruise industry, and it was disastrous because no one ever saw this thing before, and it was on this cruise ship that came out of Japan. They left China, went to Japan, and then no one knew what it was, and they left them on the ship for the disease to just spread throughout because no one knew what it was. They didn't realize that they were doing the wrong thing. So that was the wrong thing. And then when it came back to the US, people didn't want to let it on shore because They didn't know anything about it, but it's been a full 2 years later, and we know a lot more about it, and the cruise industry has made some definite improvements, and they have definitely addressed a lot of things. So, number one, what they've done, this is what the cruise industry, and this is according to ASTA, excuse me, sorry, not ASTA, but the Cruise Line International. That is an industry organization, and they advocate for the cruise line as well as travel professionals like me. I'm an ASTA member, I'm an ASTA agency um, with regard to the cruise line. So, this is what they're doing right now. They actually incorporate testing, vaccination, screening, sanitation, and mask wearing on the cruise lines. And I'm talking about US cruises. Okay, I'm talking about the ocean liners. They do all of these things. It's also the only tourism industry that requires both the vaccines and testing for the crew and guests to even board the ship. Even to board the ship, right? So that's the only tourism industry that does that. No other industry does that. When you go to the airport, it's like a free for all, okay? It's like mask wearing. Some people want to wear masks and they want to just cause a ruckus and don't want to wear masks. Um, it's just, it really is a free for all when you go to the airport. Okay. Also, vaccination rates on cruise ships are 95%, right? So that's a lot. That's greater than the US. Right now, the overall US population vaccination rates, it probably is a little bit higher than that. I hope, because this was the end of December. Right now, the US, or at the time of this statistic, the overall US population vaccination rate was around 62%. Now compare that to 95% on the cruise ships, right? That's a huge difference. So, um, next, cruise ships also have higher rates of testing. They also have significantly lower rates of COVID, actually 33% lower than on shore. Than on shore. Than on shore. Than on shore. Okay? Okay, so has anybody cruised lately, or is anybody looking at cruising? Let me know in the comments if you're thinking about taking a cruise. I'm talking about an ocean cruise, maybe from the US if you live in the US, or maybe Puerto Rico. Is anybody thinking about doing any cruising? If you have any questions, like I said, bring your questions, pose your questions so I can answer them for you. Okay, so yes, I see you. Thank you for visiting in my Facebook group as well as on my Facebook page. Thank you. Thank you. Glad to have you. All right. So now, um, now, the last point I want to make about cruising is that for CDC observation, so that's a big thing that they're always talking about in the news cycle as well. They don't explain what that is. It's really a complicated sort of thing that they do to, and they only subject the cruise lines to it, right? So there's a thing. Where the CDC observes these ships, and they have to opt into this program, mind you, and they have this color chart similar to the color charts that, or color categories that people were doing during the pandemic. Now we've moved past that with regards to visiting locations, right? Many of the countries have moved past this coloring, granting, making like based on infection rates, giving that country a color and rating them by their color code. Now it's based on vaccination. So, right now, to be quite honest, in order to travel internationally to go most places, you're going to need to be vaccinated. So, I just want to say that out the gate. I just want to get that out there. So, the only place right now that's not requiring vaccinations is Mexico. So even people who come to the US that are not US citizens, they have to be vaccinated. So we're actually doing that too. So, and that's another way that countries are trying to do away with the testing because the testing is a super huge pain. Okay. So now back to the CDC observation. It's 0.10% or more passengers, like that's 7 out of 6,500 test positive in the last 7 days, that's when the CDC says we're going to monitor you or we need to monitor you. That's what they tell the cruise line. So out of 6,500 passengers, and some of these ocean liners, they're huge, right? They're like mini cities. Um, if they have 7 out of 6,500 passengers test positive, or one single crew member tests positive on the ship, then they have to submit to the CDC observation. And then, that's when the news cycle starts, and they only report a limited amount they don't provide context. So I know that back in December, the CDC recommended that no one, regardless of your vaccination status, cruise at all. They didn't take into account or explain because at the time there were a few countries or in the Caribbean that were denying us a number of cruise ships to dock. Now there was a combination of why they were doing that, right? Because the cruise lines report and the destinations themselves had an outbreak going on. So they were like, we can't take care of our people and people who might come on shore. So we're just not going to allow you to dock, excuse me. So of course they're not going to tell you that. All right, so next. All right, so I'm gonna talk about now a specific cruise line, right? Because each cruise line's different. There are many cruise lines out there, but I'm gonna talk about one of the big ones, Royal Caribbean. And I'm saying that because I intend to take one in the near future, and then I'll be reporting back to you on what I see and what I experience. So I'm going with Royal Caribbean, so I'll be able to tell you what Royal Caribbean's doing about it specifically and how I find that experience to be. So what Royal Caribbean does, and all of the cruise lines have something similar. They have something called the the Healthy Sail Center, and that's the website. You can find out everything that you need to know about testing to board or vaccinations to board, everything that you need, everything that's going on with Royal Caribbean with regard to the health protocols. So it's called the Healthy Sail Setting. Healthy Sail Center. That almost became a tongue twister. So yeah, this is Priscilla with Scylla Travel, helping you live the dream through travel. And I'm talking about return to cruising. Is it okay to cruise right now? So that's what today's topic is about. So I help active adults, business owners, women entrepreneurs, and professionals reconnect with their inner explorer and live the dream through travel. Okay, so next. So according to Royal Caribbean, and I'm using Royal Caribbean as my example, this is what their healthy sailing center looks like when you go to the page. It gives you information about for vaccinated guests, vaccinated crew, testing for all. It talks about masks indoors. It gives you flexibility, peace of mind, and peace of mind when you are sailing with Royal Caribbean. So Royal Caribbean is also extending their future cruise credit program, so that let's say that you want to sail and you get COVID or something happens, you're able to push your cruise out. But I'll talk about that on another slide. Okay, so questions for Royal. Do I need a COVID-19 vaccine to cruise? Okay. All right, so this is what they're saying. I got this information from their Healthy Sail Center, right? So cruises departing from all U.S. home ports, including San Juan, Puerto Rico, right? All guests 12 and over must present proof of vaccination, that's COVID-19, with the final dose being administered at least 14 days before sailing. So that is the standard for being, at least at this point, and at least today, that's the standard to be considered fully vaccinated. That's what they're requiring in order to sail. Now, vaccinated kids ages 5 to 11, they can present proof of full vaccination, and then they just follow the protocols for the adults, right? Now, what's not accepted is a certificate of recovery instead of the vaccination card for guests. Now, they do call out Florida, home ports. Now they're saying this for a reason, right? They're saying is this vaccination requirement is the policy of several international governments for in order for these cruise ships to enter their waters. So what the cruise line's saying is, hey, we know that it's political for some of you, but in order for us to be able to cruise these destinations' waters, they are the ones requiring vaccines. Okay, so countries are requiring vaccines. So it's not just the Caribbean; it's also in Europe. Now it's like unless you are in Europe, and there all the countries are different. So and it changes, but unless you have a family emergency and need to visit um, a country in Europe, let's say France, you have to be vaccinated if you're not a citizen. If you are not a citizen, you have to have a reason for like visiting, and then they'll allow you to take a test, but then you won't be able to enter indoors, like going to um, bars, restaurants, museums, hotels, things like that, because they have a COVID. They need you to show proof of COVID vaccination in order to enter public spaces, indoor public spaces. So that's France, right? So a lot of countries are doing that, as well as the Caribbean. They're not doing exactly the same thing, but it depends on island to island. It's different. Many countries are doing that, right? So, you need to have a vaccine to cruise on any cruise ship, not just Royal Caribbean. Okay, so you also need a test, right? You need a negative COVID-19 test. Not only do you have to be vaccinated, but you also have to have a COVID-19 test, right? All right, so all guests are required to take pre-cruise testing when sailing from U.S. home ports. And I venture to say there's something similar from Europe or other countries where you would fly across the pond because number one, you have to have a vaccine to even enter the country. So Royal Caribbean doesn't just sail in the Caribbean; they also sail across the pond at different locations, as well as most of the others. Not all, but most of them, the larger cruise lines, they do the same. Now, vaccinated guests. This is the rule for vaccinated guests for the test. A negative COVID-19 test result for either the PCR, that's the 3-day one, or the rapid antigen test taken no more than 2 days before boarding day. So the rapid antigen test is allowable for vaccinated guests, right? Also vaccinated kids, they can still present proof of full vaccination, then they follow the same rules for the vaccinated adults. But everybody has to have a negative COVID-19 test, whether PCR or rapid antigen. Rapid antigen is the one that's easier um, in order to board. All right, next. Now, what about testing for unvaccinated kids? Because the only exceptions for vaccines are for kids, right? So, unvaccinated kids from ages 2 to 11, they're allowed to sail, but they have to show a negative test for PCR, but not antigen, taken no more than 3 days before boarding day. So, it gets to be a little bit more complicated if you're not vaccinated, even for the children. Now, in addition, unvaccinated kids can't do the pre-cruise test on board any. So there are some options for that. And I'll get into that next. Now, in addition, unvaccinated children who are allowed take the COVID-19 PCR test um, and are allowed to cruise. They also are subject to additional, COVID-19 testing, but it is complimentary. Now, it's based on the length of the cruise, right? They may have to take 1 or 2 more tests depending on the length of the cruise, and Royal Caribbean will administer that test to them at no additional cost. Now, guests under 2 don't need to have a vaccine or a test or complete the pre-cruise screening. So, it gets a little bit more complicated for unvaccinated children because children are the only ones who are allowed to board a cruise line without being vaccinated. Now, some of the other cruise lines may vary on that, but that's the general rule. Now, here's some recommendations. What Royal is saying. These are their recommendations, and I Gotta say that a lot of the other lines are saying some of the same things. Maybe not everything, but you have to check your cruise line that you plan on visiting, or excuse me, sailing on. You have to check to see what their specific rules are. But some things are standard, like the vaccinations and the testing. So here's Royal Caribbean's recommendations. They're saying it's highly likely that destinations will begin to require guests who are age 5 and older to be vaccinated because, like what I said before, right now they're not requiring children to be vaccinated from 5 to 11. They can be because it's authorized here in the US, but it's not required. But it's highly likely that that's going to happen because the destinations themselves are going to require it. It's also highly likely that many destinations will soon require booster doses. So that's a thing that's also happening. So I know that the country of Croatia did that back last year. So they started requiring the booster doses in order to be considered fully vaccinated. And I know that many countries in Europe are doing the same. In order to be considered fully vaccinated, they're changing it to anywhere between 6 and 9 months since your second dose. Or if it's a Johnson and Johnson single dose test, that you would be required to have a booster within 6 months or 9 months of that second dose, or the first dose if it's a single dose vaccine, to be considered fully vaccinated. So right now, the cruise lines are not doing that, but they expect destinations to be doing that soon. So this is being driven by destinations, other countries, not the US, because they have their own problems. So they're like, so we're going to require it in order to come here. This is what you have to do. So Royal Caribbean is doing this because destinations are requiring it. Not to mention the CDC is requiring it. Yes, the CDC is requiring it, even though they don't do a lot of this on airlines. But the cruise line is the most highly regulated industry in the tourism sector. Okay. So a lot of times we hear about cases because they report them. The airlines don't report it. Nobody reports it except the cruise lines. Okay. All right. So next. All right, so this is what Royal Caribbean has. They have something called the Healthy Cruising, and that is like your check-in process. So this is what I'm going to be going through when I cruise. Coming up next month, I'll let you know when I get back. But this is where you start, the Healthy Cruising Center for Royal. All right, so now this is what they're doing. Everybody's requiring an app, which makes it easier. So for Royal Caribbean specifically, and I haven't checked the other cruise lines, I'm going on Royal first. This is what they're requiring. They're asking you to download an app in order to prepare for your boarding, right? So get it from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store for Android so you can be ready, right? Okay, now also, pre-cruise test options. Now, this is important. This is important for you to know and understand, right? So, you're responsible for your own test, adults and children, for the first time boarding. You're responsible to get your own test. They're not going to do it for you. They do have some options, right? These are the 3 options. This is what Royal is doing. So, other cruise lines have something similar. You can get your own test. Like CVS, I usually go to CVS. You can go to Walgreens. You can go to what other pharmacy am I near? I'm near Publix pharmacy, and they do vaccinations as well as your clinic, right? But I usually go to CVS. But because when the numbers started going up around like right after Christmas, testing became difficult. So now testing is available now to U.S. citizens for free. You can order it, but I'll go into that next. So, Quest Diagnostics, they are recommending that you use Quest Diagnostics is here in my area. There's a tool, you go, you click, you put in your zip code, you see the 2 types of tests that's available in your area. In my area, Quest Diagnostics only offers the PCR. They're not offering the rapid test in my area, so I'll probably go back to CVS and book an appointment. But I'm going to do it 2 weeks out. I'm not going to wait. I'm going to book it. But as a backup, I also have the at-home self-test kit. This is the one that they're promoting, Abbott Binax now with the ad card. Now that is a test which is proctored. And what I mean by proctored is that it is telehealth. So I'm going to go to the next slide so I can show you, right? But before I move on to the specific Abbott test, you can arrange to have or make an appointment for testing on boarding day. You would need an appointment. It's also not recommended because it's a last minute option. That's not the best thing that you would want to do, but push come to shove, if you needed to, you could. So this is Priscilla with Scylla Travel, helping you live the dream through travel, talking about cruising. Uh, and is it okay to cruise right now? Yeah, because wave season started and it had, sort of it stalled a little bit. Now that our COVID numbers are going down, it's starting to pick up again. So does anyone have any comments or questions? Let me know in the comments. Hello, I see you there. Nice to see you. In my Facebook group, nice to see you on my page. I see you. If you have any comments, just put them in there and I'll answer them. And if I don't get to them today, I will get back with you. But grant StreamYard permission to see your profile if you see that in the link. Otherwise, I won't be able to see who you are. So it's generally in the groups and on YouTube that it requires that. I don't see that a lot on my profile or my business page. So now next. We're going to talk about this Binax Now Ag Card. Okay, so this is the test that is telehealth, right? It's considered telehealth. It's a virtually guided test, meaning that it comes with a proctor. That means you get the app, which is Navica, and that is the testing company that provides these healthcare professionals who actually observe you, um, and basically certify your results face to face. So I know that a lot of us have been doing this telehealth when COVID started. I know I have. We've been using apps to see the doctor. I know the VA hospital, because I'm a veteran, has been doing telehealth for years. Um, but people are doing this now. You have your app, you have your doctor's appointment, and you can talk to your doctor face to face using this app. You can do the same thing by taking this. It's the same principle by taking this proctored COVID-19 test. That's the Binax Now with the Ag card. So your results come back in 15 minutes, and they email you the results so that you can provide it and upload it to the Royal Caribbean or your cruise line or whatever site you're using because you're traveling. So let me show you one thing, right? Because I don't want anyone to get misled. So we know that Binax Now by Abbott, also they provide more than just the ag card test. There are a couple of different types of tests. And in the US, we can get these free tests now. So I finally got mine in the mail because I went to the post office website, submitted a request for some free tests. And this is the one that I got, right? It's a Binax Now it's a Binax Now test kit, right? You see that? But it's an antigen self-test kit, but it doesn't say ag card. So this test is not acceptable, right? This is not good for travel. So I also recommend people, even if you're not cruising and you're traveling, I recommend that people pack one of these test kits, these home test kits, the proctored one, in your travel bag, right? So this is the proctored one. This is the one, COVID-19 Ag Card Home Test Kit. That's what it looks like on the back. This is the one that they're talking about. Now, Royal Caribbean, you can order it from them for 2 for $69. I went on line and ordered mine, got 2 for the same price, right? So, but I did that back in December when testing started to be scarce. Okay, so I had these test kits on hand. So remember, there's 2 different ones. They're not the same. If you get this one from your government test kit, your free government test, this is not the one that you want to use to travel with. It's this one, the one that says Ag Card. Binax Now, COVID-19 Ag Card Home Test Kit. And it says do not open until instructed to do so. You download this Navica app because when you need to, then you have to register the app and then register to get your proctor who's going to observe you and certify and send you your results. They don't accept self observed rapid antigen tests. So that's important. So don't think that you can use that test that you get free from ordering it on the post office website that's going to suffice. No, it's not. You have to have that specific one, the ag card. Okay, so next. All right, now these are some incentives that Royal is doing for people cruising right now. All right, so they've got Cruise for Confidence. You can cancel up to 48 hours before you sail, right? So this is something that they're doing to give people that extra sense of security so they don't feel like they're going to lose their money. This is what Royal is doing for reservations confirmed on or before March 31st of this year, 2022, and sailing through September 30th. They've extended it. This cruise with confidence, you can cancel up to 48 hours before you sail. You get a future cruise or a future cruise credit, good for up to 12 months, a little over 12 months. Now, if you choose to, they give you some options now. You can use either get a future cruise credit, or you can, I believe they give you 125% if you want to book again. So you not only do you get not only do you get the future cruise credit, but you get 25% additional extra funds that you can use if you want to use your future cruise credit. They do allow you to get your money back, but you'll get a refund, but they really want you to rebook. So you get that extra 25% if you rebook, use the future cruise credit. So it's they're making the incentive for you to rebook. Okay, so that's the future cruise credit, cancel for up to 48 hours. Yes. Now, one more thing. What I'm doing is I have a masterclass. This is the first iteration of my masterclass because testing and all of these navigating the pandemic hurdles is a thing, right? So I have a masterclass on how to find the right at-home test kit. This is not just for cruising, but this is also traveling abroad, whether that be Europe, Africa, any place outside of the US, how to find the right at-home test kit. Also, how to find a testing site abroad. And I also talk about travel protection, how and why you need it, although just believe you need it, but people still need to know why. And I go through some of the reasons why, some of the things that could go wrong, and why you should have it during the age of COVID. And I also provide some other pandemic travel research tools. And there's a bonus, which is my pandemic travel prep checklist. So that is the download that it's been out there for a while now, and I'm starting to see an uptick in people downloading it because now people are starting to get interested in traveling again now that the numbers have gone down. So this is the pandemic travel prep checklist. It has the 10 most important things to do before taking your next international trip. So if you sign up for the master class, there's an introductory, this is an introductory course, and there is a special promotion going on for this for this class. It starts at $14.99. That's $14.99. That's the introductory price. You get all of these things plus the pandemic travel prep checklist. So check it out. I'm going to put the link to it in the description, and you also get the pandemic travel the pandemic travel prep checklist too. All right. So Okay, so that is basically all I had to talk to you about. Let me go and look and see if there are any comments or any questions. Does anybody have any comments or any questions at all about cruising? Um, Returning to the cruise, cruising again during this time, during COVID, because we're still in pandemic. Yeah, we know that things have improved dramatically, right? So we know that there are vaccines internationally. We know that we've got a lot of things going that we didn't have before, but it's still the age of COVID. It's not completely hasn't been completely eradicated. Now, some people want to know, is it okay for me to travel right now? So basically, what I have to tell you is it's basically up to you, right? It's up to you to make that decision on whether cruising right now is right for you. Okay, so is it right for you? Is it okay to cruise? It's up to you. So my job is just to give you the tools for your toolkit so that you know how to make the right decision. Hello, Brenda. Hey, Brenda, nice to see you. Thank you for attending. So, my job here is just to make sure that you folks, you guys have the tools for your toolkit so you can make the right decision. And if you do decide to cruise or travel abroad, you still need to know these things because you don't want to get caught off guard. So let me see if there are no more comments or any questions right now. I am going to call it an evening, right? Or morning wherever you are, or afternoon. So I'm going to check one more time. Do you have any questions or comments? This is Priscilla with Scylla Travel, helping you live the dream through travel. I help busy women entrepreneurs, professionals, and business owners plan incredible experience that reflect the local culture in unique and fascinating destinations. So it's all about the experience, right? So people are ready to go get back to cruising. And I intend to cruise next month. I'll keep you informed when I get back, and I'll have lots of video, and I will go over and share with you what Royal Caribbean has been doing with regard to their cruise protocols so that you feel comfortable or you'll have even more information to make that decision whether or not you want to cruise or not. So, this is Priscilla with Scylla Travel signing off, hoping that you have a great rest of your day. And don't forget to sign up for the masterclass. I'm going to put the link in the description. This is Priscilla with Scylla Travel signing off, hoping that you have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening. Oh, yeah, one more thing. Remember, as always, live the dream. Bye bye.